Hello and welcome to R&R's Ask the Expert. I'm Kayla McGowan, editor-in-chief, and today I have a special guest who I've already had the privilege of interviewing prior, and we're talking about key ways franchising differs from independently run businesses and how franchising supports owner success. Today's special guest is Danessa Itaya, and she is president of Bio One. Danessa has more than 30 years of experience in the franchise industry, including 10 years of national and international leadership experience. She serves on the Women in Franchising Committee of the International Franchise Association, and she was named one of Entrepreneur's top influential women in franchising in 2022. Please welcome Danessa.
Well, hello there. Thanks for
Hey,
having me.
yeah, you're so welcome. Long time no see. It was a pleasure meeting you in person a couple of weeks ago.
It's always fun, right? It's always fun to meet face to face.
Oh, it really is. And I think, you and I were just talking about your guys' team as a whole. And I think this, topic fits right in to what, we've experienced just in passing and how you guys have such a great team. So I'm gonna toss up this first question. I think it's really key in what differentiates independent and franchising. So what do you see as the biggest operational differences between running a franchise and running an independent business?
Yeah. This is a question we get a lot. I would say probably the biggest, and this is what our franchisees tell us, the biggest difference is going to be what I call your pit crew, right? It's the people who provide that support, whether it's from our home office here, whether it's fellow franchisees. They've built their tribe, and so being able to provide that expertise, we've made all the mistakes already, right? So what we're giving them is a really well-oiled machine versus someone independently doing it and kind of saying, well, let me try this, and then, oh, let me try that. And so with that, with franchising, what you're getting is essentially a business model, and being able to replicate that to help you grow faster than if you did this on your own. And that's kind of the name of the game for franchising. But that people aspect of it, that relationship piece of it, huge.
Yeah, and I would definitely say, for people who don't know, you guys have a lot of franchises in your network, and you're able to actually probably excel a little bit faster than independent because you guys are seeing different problems, different solutions all at the same time, which allows your business model to evolve efficiently and effectively fairly quickly, if I'm
Yes.
being quite honest, which is huge because not only is there Bio One, there's a couple of other franchises that are your sister companies, if you will, and they're able to share problems that they may see as well. So franchising is very powerful. No matter what level of the business you're serving, you're able to see things differently and
Mhm.
um, change the way you may have been projecting. And that's part of why you guys are so successful. I truly believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
another thing is you have quite a bit of experience. I did share that. And in your experience, how does the support provided by the franchisor, such as training, marketing, and even your supply chain, how does that contribute to the success of your franchise owners? And I only said a couple of things. I know you guys have a plethora of support, but I think topics always include training, marketing, and supply. So can you kind of let us know some trade
Yeah.
secrets there?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think, when you look at joining a franchise, it's kind of, we've got an infrastructure already built. So like if you did this independently, you'd need a website, right? And you'd need to source someone who could do that website and source someone who could administer your SEO and your PPC, all of those things. We've already got that in place. Not only that, but we've actually negotiated a really great buying, with our buying power, we've been able to leverage a really great program. And so, I look at, people often say, why would I why would I want to pay a royalty versus just me doing it on their own? And I tell people all the time, if we can't help you grow your business faster than if you did it on your own, then we haven't done our job. And we haven't earned that. But ultimately, what we want is, hey, you don't have to be a website expert. You don't have to be up to speed on every type of chemical and what's the best chemical to use on cleaning this kind of thing. We've actually already done that for you. Not only that, but we've tested it and we've made sure that it meets and complies with all of the different state regulations. We know that it's the right product for our service. So you actually don't have to be the expert in that. That's what you get when you work with us. So there are things like that between our buying power, we're able to negotiate better pricing. But then there are also things like CRMs, like some are not even available to an independent person. And so with that, we're able to test it, we're able to vet it, we're able to build all the templates for it so that the independent business owner doesn't have to do all of that from scratch.
But
So
I was gonna go ahead, go ahead.
oh no. So there are some advantages in the sense that we kind of take all of that knowledge and then we feed that back to the franchise network.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of your team, and you really do have people who specialize in
Yeah.
specific parts of the business. And then you guys come together and you're able to come up with a great plan. And you guys have, tested and, said, hey, this works, this doesn't work. Hey, maybe we should try it a different way. Whereas independently coming in, I've met a lot of people who are not even from this space, and they're like, well, I think I should start here. And I think even if you're not from this space and you decide to franchise, you're going to have an upper hand just with the roadmap that's been developed by you and your team.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, speaking of having success, what challenges do franchisees typically face that maybe independent business owners may not? And
Yeah.
how are those challenges usually addressed within the franchise model?
Yeah, yeah. So, the first one you always hear about is, why do I have to pay a royalty or why do I have to pay into a brand fund? Why can't I keep that? And obviously, very valid reasons or questions and concerns. And one of the things that our goal is to always say, hey, uh, our goal is for you to say, I can't imagine running my business without the partnership of our home office, of the franchisor. That's us doing our job well. And so for that's things like I said, it looks like websites that they don't actually have to go in and understand, heat map, and be able to look at, okay, where are people going to click and being able to measure that. And is it optimized for my area? They don't have to do that. I'm a firm believer in, the best leaders out there hire people who are experts and so much smarter than them. And you see that in franchising all the time is you've got a franchisee who can execute locally in the market. But what they've done is they've brought in experts who know this industry. We actually just rolled out a new cleaning chemical line. And, there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot that goes into one, making sure that, it's the right products for what we're doing, nothing more and nothing less. We don't want to just come in and, you do a one stop and just clean everything with the same products. But we want to make sure it's safe for our team members. We want to make sure that we are offering the correct PPE to do that. Our franchisees, that's not their knowledge and expertise. And so with that, we partner with leaders in the industry, IICRC, leaders, experts. Those are the people who we want to get our information from. And so we try and take the burden of that off of the franchisee. So there's benefit to things like that. We have what we call the 5-star buying group. And what they do is they negotiate discounts with Home Depot, with, several of the partners that we work with, accounting companies, with rental car companies, all of these things that help them run their business that they don't have to focus their time and energy on. They get to go out, they get to sell, they get to manage their team, build a team, and be able to deliver the service locally in their market.
Yeah, and I would definitely say too, even if there are problems that are faced, to your point, like the connections and collaboration are just like so far. You mentioned Home Depot, which is like, okay, that's a gimme, right? Like
Mhm,
IICRC, okay, that's a gimme. But then you mentioned rental car. And I
mhm,
think that that's actually really huge, especially with people having to travel to site locations. There is an aspect of rental car, right? And it makes a difference to have those types of relationships prior to ever being boots on the ground. I can only imagine how far your guys' collaborations truly do span because actually you guys are all over the United States, right? So I
correct.
think that that's also a big thing for people to understand is sometimes independents do have multiple locations, but they're generally in the same area. Some people may jump to another state, but at that point, that's probably considered franchising at that point, just in a different business model, right?
Right.
Um, so speaking of all of this, pros, cons, which I think there hasn't really been a con, but maybe talked about problems, right?
Yep.
Can you share an example for you personally when being part of a franchise system help you overcome a business hurdle?
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been a little bit more difficult to handle if you were independent.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so it's interesting. I mean, there are a couple of components here. One is one of the things, and with Bio One is we have a heart for giving, and it's who we are. It's what we do. We help people on the worst day of their life. They're going through something they never thought they would ever have to encounter. And so our ability to be able to provide that service and that help and be part of our community locally is great. And when you're one independent location, that's fine. You build a great relationship and a reputation there locally. What we found is that we've got national companies that were coming to us and saying, how can we build a relationship? And so that's partly where relationships like Alacrity and these different partnerships are really, really helpful. We've got a really great relationship with FBI, National Academy Associates, and that's the program that the FBI has that trains local law enforcement all over the world to on how some of these high level training and tactics, and they come from all over, and we have an opportunity to be able to talk with them every time they run this course. And it's really neat to see, one, how many of those say, oh, we work with Bio One. We appreciate what you've done. And the interesting thing I see is that it's not like, hey, we like Bio One. We love this is a great business. They talk to me about names. They talk about Amanda and Megan, who they work with locally. They talk about working with Richard in the Phoenix market. They talk about these people, and you know that a relationship was built there. So if we were an independent company, we wouldn't be able to be able to build that presence and be able to be part of the community across the United States. We'd be able to do it locally, which is great, and many businesses do that. But the ability to come in and be able to join, the group at Quantico and be able to say, hey, listen, we've got these amazing people who want to help you. You are the link to being able to help us connect with those in your community who need our services. And they love that. They love that this is less about how much it costs. It's less about, the specific details of what we're cleaning. It's more, how can we help get you back in your home? And being able to do that nationally is huge.
Yeah, and I would definitely say if there were ever a problem that you were faced with, because you have a national reach, you have the ability to utilize those collaborations and
Oh yeah,
partnerships to
yeah,
tackle that. And like you said, to your point, yes, you can do it independently, but it's more local and there's nothing wrong with that. But in the event like California wildfires or
right.
Asheville or
Yeah,
like Route 91 here,
yeah,
I think part of you guys were part of that, and even
yeah,
Packouts and a couple of other of your sister companies were involved. And times like those, you need to have a connection
yeah,
across the United States,
right.
right? Because the number of people that need to come and help,
Yeah.
go far beyond your small community. And it's cool. Every time I talk to you, I learn more and more about Bio One. And it's great and refreshing to hear, there's aspects that you're able to leverage and build that unfortunately independently you can't because you just don't have that reach. Yes, you can
Yeah.
build collaboration and things like that, but being that you guys are national, you have a little bit more
Yeah.
bandwidth than your average independent does. Um,
Yeah.
so I think we've talked a little bit about everything, training, outreach, collaboration, but let's talk about brand for just a second,
Mhm.
right? How important is brand recognition in the success of a franchise, and how does that compare to the branding efforts required for an independent business? And I think you kind of talked about this a little bit before, but on the brand side, you're like I said, Bio One is well known, and yes, it's because you are a franchise, but also because of the team that you have. But how does it differ from the independent business?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great question. And it's something that we're very protective of. You're taking your brand name, your identity, and you're trusting people to go out and execute on under your brand name, and the goal is that they execute at a level that you're proud of and that represents your brand. And so it's kind of like kids, right? It's like kids. They go out into the world. You hope you've done the best you can for them. And then now it's ultimately up to them to fly and to represent, your name well. Same thing with franchises. And we see this. You mentioned a couple of examples. I think from our standpoint, in addition to us at the home office being really passionate and protective of our brand, uh, I see that with our franchisees. And so I don't know if I've talked to you about the Asheville, when the whole thing with Asheville happened, and we have a franchisee out there who they're amazing and they're locally tied to the community. But what happened is when Asheville happened, it was basic needs, right? They needed water, they needed electricity, they needed phone service, they needed toilet paper, they needed the ability to flush toilets, basic needs. And so our franchisee started making phone calls to our franchise network saying, "Hey, who can help us find who can help us with water?" And amazingly, our franchisees were kind of reaching out to them saying, "How can we help you? How can we support you? What do you need? I will load up my truck with water, with Starlink phones, with towels, with whatever you guys need. We can be on the road in a matter of hours." When you look at that, and they're saying, and they're not doing it because they want to spread the Bio One name. They're not doing it for marketing purposes. They're doing it because it's deep down who they are. But that's the power of a brand, right? Is the fact that people say, hey, they recognize there's a need, and this is one of their people, fellow Bio One business owner, and so for that it was amazing to see how many of our franchisees we're able to get through down power lines, down trees, all of that to help support our local franchisee. And then our local franchisee, their primary focus was how do we make sure our team is taken care of? And then how do we support our community? And so for that, she was calling around and getting towels, water, so that cigarettes, so the local police department. I mean, these guys were working 24 hours around the clock, and so how do we give them the basic comforts? How do we make sure they've got hot meals? How do we make sure that they've got towels that they can shower? So when you look at a brand and you look at how do what's the importance of a brand? You see united efforts like that, and it's pretty powerful. It speaks volumes over any kind of advertising we could do, any kind of website promotion, Facebook promotion contest we could run. It's the how are we tied to our community? And so reputation, in addition to partnered with a really solid brand name, is critical. And it works the other way around too. We get someone who doesn't deliver on that, it impacts the brand for everybody across the country. So we're very protective.
Well, I think that just really makes sense. Like everything you're saying is you're human, right? You humanize your business, whether you're in the place that's affected or not. But I think brand is family, if I'm being quite honest. If you're not 100% bought in, then you're not doing the brand the service that it deserves. And, I don't think we've talked about Asheville like that. I think we talked about Route 91 the last time we spoke, and just seeing that, and, no matter the year, the response is going to be the same. And I think that's really what's important, because a lot of times things change and so do other people or businesses and brands. And you guys have stayed true to who you are and what you guys believe, not only at the home office, but across the United States. And I think that is more important and more powerful, like you said, that any type of campaign you could run, any type of social media, any ads, because at the end of the day, what truly matters is the interaction and the support that you receive from your staff.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and I can't wait to have you again in the future. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode of Ask the Expert. Take care.